So I want to know who told women that at some point in their life, they're supposed to stop dreaming. Seriously, who made that rule up? Because somewhere along the way, many of us traded our what ifs for these lies that we keep telling ourselves in our over and over again in our head. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe this is all there is. Maybe I missed my chance. But what if we're all wrong? Welcome to Big Talk at the Table. I'm your host, Joni Leigh.
And I'm Bonita Jacque.
And we are so glad that you are here today with us. This is your first time joining us. Welcome to the table. We cannot wait to share what we have to talk about with you today. We believe that some of the best conversations happen around this table. So pull up a chair and let's get honest. Let's get real. And let's give ourselves some permission to look at life in a little bit of a different perspective. Because today isn't just about starting over. It's about something that goes much, much deeper than that. It's about the stories that we've told ourselves, because every decision that we make begins with something that we believe. We believe that we're too old. We believe that we've missed our chance. We believe that purpose belongs to somebody else. It doesn't belong to me. We believe we need the whole plan and everything all figured out before we can actually take the first step. So here's what Bonita and I have discovered. We have studied, we have read, we have been doing the hard things that go along with this subject. And we've been living this life ourselves. So beliefs have consequences, and some beliefs move us forward and some of them keep us stuck where we are. So today we're going to challenge 5 beliefs that we think are holding a lot of women back. And maybe one of these might be the one that's holding you. Bonita, welcome. That was a lot. I want to start with something that has completely changed the way that we have looked at life. And it's going to be, I think, a really powerful conversation today because you and I have both studied, read, restudied, and these things that we just keep talking about over and over again with you and I felt that we needed to share it because so many women feel the exact same way.
For sure. My clients are all about this as well.
So when you say all of your clients are about this, who are your clients, Bonita?
Mostly women who are looking for more, want to move forward, and they don't know how because they have the voices in their head telling them, those thoughts that they're not good enough or they can't. And there's just things that we need to rethink and disconnect from because there's a lot to let go of. Because we want to move forward in a positive way and be fulfilled and successful. And I don't necessarily mean monetarily successful, but you feel successful in your life. You're happy.
Exactly. We don't usually just wake up one morning and decide that we're just too old. That just doesn't happen. It's something that gets told to ourselves over and over and over again, right? We've missed our chance. That purpose is for somebody else. It's not for me. And I think all of these things over time settle in us and they kind of stick with us.
I just had a big birthday that ends in a 0. So, that I could tell myself that I'm too old, but I'm just getting started. There is so much out there for me to explore and to learn and to share. So, it's exciting.
So there's a lot of big birthdays that end in a 0. Which one was yours?
Let's just say a little over the hill. It was 70. Okay. It was 70.
I was like, over the hill nowadays. I feel like that is such a saying that was back like when I was little. When I was younger, I remember thinking my mom was 50 and I thought that was old. And I'm gonna be pushing 58. I don't think 50 is old anymore.
Well, what is it? Well, when you're over the hill, you pick up speed and you get snacks like in a race. So, okay. But my mentor is turning 90 this year and she's writing a book and she's still teaching and she's still studying. So I figure I got at least another 20 years.
Exactly. And I think that is why I made you tell your age, because I feel it's such a thing that us women have such an issue with, that we feel like we're just too old. It's just passed us by. That's for the younger generation. They're not talking to me. And, I really wanted these women out there to see that people don't stop dreaming. You don't stop. It doesn't matter how old you get. That doesn't just automatically cut you off from you don't get to dream anymore.
Right. I mean, there's all kinds. I don't know what I don't know. So there may be something exciting around the corner. I didn't anticipate being on here and doing this with you, but yet here I am. So what else is possible?
Right? Pigs can fly, right?
Exactly.
And so I feel like these things get settled with us and it becomes a thought. And then that thought becomes a disappointment. And then that disappointment, we automatically make a conclusion out of it. And this is the process that we keep doing to ourselves over and over again. And so eventually we have to stop this madness and we have to start actually asking some questions to get to the other side, let's say. So Bonita and I have both read the book and taken the class and are both certified infinite possibility trainers. And I really think that I was thinking back and I was racking my brain. You found the book first and you suggested the book to me. And it's been a while. I was trying to think of how long I had actually had that book. And I want to say it's been over a couple years.
I took the class so I read the book before I took the class, and I took the class in, I think, May of 25. So it would have been sometime before that. I mean, it's been on my radar for a long time just because I got Notes from the Universe, his daily messages. And I actually have one back here framed because it was so important for me.
What does it say? Yeah. And by the way, let me tell you who we're talking about. We're talking about Mike Dooley. He's the author of the book, Infinite Possibilities. He's the author of the book, Notes from the Universe. So you guys know who we're talking about as the author. But this is the quote.
I framed it, and it's an email. It says, Bonita, I love this job. Writing you every day. Do you know how I got it? No, besides being the universe and getting whatever I want, I just started doing it. And that's all anything takes. Signed, the universe. And this was from November 26th of 2009.
Okay, 2009. So, I mean, it stuck with you. And I remember you reading the book and you telling me about the book, and I got the book immediately. I had read a couple pages that you had sent me, and it just resonated with me so much. And I got it. And funny thing is, when I set out on this journey, I was not really actively reading it. I had started reading a few chapters and then I got put aside, and I like to read. So of course I was reading kind of all different things. And then something just kept coming back to it and back to it. And I kept referring back to it. And then I was like, I got to finish reading this book. And I did. You sent me there was an offer for the course, and you said, I don't know if this is something you're interested in. And it was immediately, I was like, yes, I want to do that. I think that that's something that I love that you shared that I didn't know you were going to share that quote, or even that you had that quote in your office, because that's been something that has kind of been bubbling up with me, is that how do you know what you want to be when you grow up if you don't try things out? I'm going to start this really fun series of what I want to be when I grow up. And I want to test out different things around the country with people. So that's coming soon. But it's funny that you wrote that, because that's exactly the truth. And it has also been amazing. I would say in the last couple weeks, I have been getting so many messages from women that across the country, I can honestly say, from California, from Florida, from Wisconsin, and women have been telling me, I just love what you're putting out into the world. You have inspired me to do blank. Write a book was one of them. One of them was to try a new job, career change in the middle of I think she's in her 60s, actually. The other things that people are inspired by. And that is what this is all about.
Yeah, we definitely want to inspire you to explore what lights you up. What do you want to know more of? Get off your couch, get up, stop scrolling, and, find something that really interests you that you want to learn about, and then figure out how you can take that and help someone else, because we're all supporting each other. I mean, Joni has done so much for me. I mean, look, here I am on podcast. I mean, who would have thought, huh?
Well, I want to start with, it does take all of that. And, we talk about positive thinking and we talk about all the things that go into action and all the things. And so what I did was I kind of gathered up And I feel like these are 5, and I'm going to call them lies. I'm just going to say what they are. I looked up that word, and it's to deceive somebody. And I feel like that's what we do to ourselves. We lie to ourselves. We don't even know we're doing it because it's your belief system. It's how you talk to yourself. It's changing it just in a little bit of a way to make it from a negative to a positive. And so I'm just going to call a lie and like throw the elephant in the room. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 5 lies that we do to ourselves, and we intentionally deceive ourselves. What you believe is a belief to be a truth. And so we're going to talk about the lie, then we're going to talk about the truth, and we're going to talk about how we got there and share a little bit of insight with you guys. A story you've repeated so many times to yourself that you stop questioning it. So once you do that, that belief begins shaping your decisions. It begins shaping your confidence. It begins shaping your relationships. It also, big one, it begins shaping your dreams and even what you believe to actually be possible.
So, we all have these conversations with ourselves, and we think that it doesn't mean anything. It's just idle thoughts going through our head, but your body's listening, your brain's listening. And so it's saying, oh yeah, that's normal. That's normal. Let's just keep going this way. We don't need to change anything. We're good. Okay. Well, you're not.
Well, and I also think it's over what you tell. I think a lot of us do this. We have a conversation with ourselves in our head. And because lies lose their power when they're exposed. So once they come out in the open, and you could have an honest conversation about them, they lose their power over you. And that's what we want to do today. We want to expose these lies. We want you to listen to them. And maybe one of them, maybe all of them are going to resonate with you. And we want to expose it because then it loses its power over you. We're going to share also some research with you today about what we've learned through Infinite Possibilities, as well as what these lies and these truths really mean for your life.
I have a picture on my wall in my office here that says, don't believe everything you think.
Oh,
I mean, how many things do I think that I find out later was restrictive, was mean to myself? Yeah. No,
right.
You got to change.
So we're going to go over these, and don't think that you've got to do all of these, or just take small baby steps with us. Okay. The fact that you're even here sitting at the table, going to have this hard conversation with us is your first step. I want you guys to high five yourself because that's a step in the right direction. That's an action. That means you're doing something. So we're going to start off with lie number 1. And lie number 1 is this one is one that I can tell you myself, this replayed in my mind over and over and over again. And I'll share a little bit in a minute about why. Lie number 1, you have to have everything figured out before you can start something. How many can resonate with that lie? Because I know that was me. I need the whole plan. I should know everything I need to know before I start. I think that's one that we all kind of tell ourselves. I'm going to share a little bit with me and about my story about this. And Bonita, if you have one, if not, I'm sure one of the other lies is going to spark something. But this one for me was really big. So a year ago, I sold everything I owned, packed up an RV, and headed out. And I knew this was what I was supposed to do. God was very, very blunt about this is what you're going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know where I was going to do it. And so for this past year, I knew I was going to do a podcast, and I knew I was supposed to serve women. I spent so much of this past year second guessing myself. I spent so much trying to figure out everything in a neat little box and make sure that it all was going to just be picture perfect before I actually took the step. So I'm saying that because last year I left Michigan at the end of May. I did not start my first podcast until May 12th, right? Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. So I want you to really see the stretch of time that it took for me to take that first action step. And when I did take that action step in April, do you think I had it all figured out? No. And I still could have told myself that lie more and more and more. But what I realized by listening to myself was that I just needed to do something to get the ball rolling. And it was all going to kind of come into play.
Well, it takes a while to motivate ourselves, to talk ourselves into it, to not be afraid. I mean, I am definitely an example of that. You told me long before I told myself, that I could do these things. I could hold these classes. I had to become comfortable with that thought in me. So it took some time to really process that and to try it on and see. And I did a class on Zoom and I'm like, well, that was pretty good. And then it was another year later before I decided, okay, I'm really coming out now to do my work in a bigger setting because all my clients are not right here in the same town as me. And so to be able to reach more people. So, it's scary putting yourself out there, but you stick your toe in the water and then you go up to your knees, right? And so it just takes some time.
So it's interesting that you said that. And I have a feeling already that this is going to be a 2-part series because we're only on line number 1. I don't think we're going to get through all 5, and that's okay because we're just going to go with this. But something that you said there was believe something in you before you believed it about yourself.
Well, that's so interesting because I'm reading this book, Brave Thinking by Mary Morrissey, and she talked about somebody saying she had a vision and somebody says, well, I see this bigger vision. And she says, well, I can't believe in that. And he said, well, then you believe in my belief. Mm-hmm. And so if you're holding that belief for me, and you believe it that much, then I'm going to tune into that.
Absolutely, because I think that's the piece that is what all of these lies kind of wrap around, is that we're holding on to whatever that lie is that we believe about ourselves. The other person who sees you for who you are and for your uniqueness and your gifts and your talents usually see it and believe it before you do. And so that is so true. It's so true. So I really love that because I do believe that. And I do believe that people have a gift to bring others along so that they get to see what that person is actually seeing. I saw in you something you didn't see, but I brought you along enough for you to start seeing it yourself in you, or at least be inquisitive enough to be like, could I really do that?
Yeah, I know. I was like a deer in headlights when you first mentioned this to me. I'm like, this girl's crazy.
I feel like this lie is one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves all the time. I can't do that because I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. And so that has been something in my life that has never stopped me. I know that you know that about me. Some of my listeners may not know that about me. I started a nonprofit 15 years ago, had absolutely no idea how to start a nonprofit, how to run a nonprofit. But I just kept saying, how hard can it be? And I guess that's kind of my mentality I've carried through life. I love learning things that I don't know. And how do I know if I'm going to be good at it or not until you give it a try, right? I guess I've always thought everybody had that same mentality. That is not true.
That is not true.
The lie still surfaces underneath. Even though I have that mentality, how hard can it be? That lie still bubbles up in, well, I don't really know everything yet. So I'm just going to kind of hold off because everybody kind of thinks that it has to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be unique. It has to be raw. You have to go through some of the bad podcast episodes to get all of a sudden where you're comfortable doing it. And you feel like, hey, this isn't so bad, right?
Well, it's all on the job training. Every job on the job training.
So if you talk to most women out there, which I do, I talk to a lot, I'm going to tell you something that I notice a lot in this department. And you talked about it for a second. You talked about scrolling. And social media is what? Putting yourself out there. Do you know the majority of women do not post anything about themselves? They don't share a post. They don't share their opinion. They don't share anything. They scroll and they're on social media every day. They're looking at what other people post. Do you know why they don't want to post anything? They're afraid of what people are going to think. They're afraid of what people are going to think, which gets back to the lie, which is, I need to know everything because I don't want anybody to think bad about me. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not the expert at this, you know? And so that's the lie that we tell ourselves. So we stay in this scrolling motion of, I'm just going to watch everybody else and see what they're doing. And I'm not going to share anything because I don't want to put myself out there.
We're afraid to fail, but that's how you learn. I mean, when you went to kindergarten, you didn't know how to do some of those things that you had to do. You had to learn how to do it. When I took my first coaching class, we had to, because we didn't want to fail, right? So they said, all right, so today, going through your day, when you say something wrong, when you feel like you failed, you throw up your arms and go, ta-da! I did that in the coffee shop of the hotel. Now, you know how introverted I am. So for me to go, ta-da, when I'm standing at the register, was way outside of my comfort zone, but I did it.
How did you feel when you did it?
Well, thankfully, I was with a group of my co-students, so we all laughed because we knew what what the scenario was. But, I'm not going to walk into the grocery store and go, ta-da, but, it was a good way to say it's okay to fail. It's okay.
Yeah, because you tried something.
Right. You have to learn how to do things in the beginning, but you'll get there to some level. And then that level will get bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, look at us. I started coaching, having an office in probably like 2010. So it's been a long time that I've done this. My office has changed 3 times. I'm so much more confident in the work that I'm doing. And I could not have imagined myself doing this work back then. And I am so thankful that I am.
Yeah. And I don't think we give ourselves enough grace. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. But the truth in all of this lie is that you don't need to see the whole staircase, that you don't need to know the whole road that's ahead on your journey. You just have to be willing to take the first step to try something. So that's where the truth lies in all of this. Why do you think as women that we need to feel that confident? Like you just said, I feel way more confident now than I did back then. Why do you think as women we want to feel that confident piece to start something else?
What would people think of me? I'm going to look stupid. I'm not going to look like I know what I'm doing, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. Right. And so, I don't want to bluff my way through anything. I've learned that it's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know the answer for that. Let me look. I'll find out and I'll get back to you, or I haven't learned that yet. And people will give you grace if you come out and say, well, gee, I just don't know, instead of making something up that doesn't sound right.
I think this leads right into women. As women, we tend to not want to ask for help, and that shows a sign of weakness. That's what we think. But as women, I can tell you that help is always, I know when I reach out for help, someone is gladly willing to extend whatever it is that I'm looking for if they have it within them to just readily give it. And we need to be leaning into that way more than we do. And so I will say with social media, it's another thing. If you're asking for somebody to share something with you, maybe that they need help on, they rarely will write it. And I'm using this because I post a lot on social media. And if I ask for somebody to share something with me that they need help on, I'm really not going to get people putting that out there. And it is sad because I think there's tons of people and women who want to help another woman.
Well, I
just don't ask.
Just in my story of trying to create a social media flyer, it took 5 other people to help me. I have this piece and I have this piece, and I think you should move this there, and I think you should change this. And it came out beautifully, but everybody had a piece of that information: how to market, how to create, how to word it in a way that people feel a pull, so it does take a village.
Yes.
And I'm
going to talk to you about that really quick. Do you think, because that was totally outside your box to do that,
I knew nothing about tech.
Did that make you almost just want to stop because you didn't know that? I'm going to say being the old Bonita, not the new Bonita.
Oh. Well, yeah, it kept me hiding for a long time because I didn't know. And I didn't know that I knew people that would want to help. I mean, other than my daughter, I'm sure she would have jumped in. And it turned out that she had a lot of talents that I didn't know about. So yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm okay with you seeing this part of me, but maybe I don't want you to see all of me.
Right. And that we are no different than women that are listening to us right now, because I can guarantee you that this is one of the biggest things that we don't ask for help, because we don't want to seem like we don't know what we're doing. You can't know what you're doing with there's no way. Like what you do versus what I do versus what somebody else does. We all got given different gifts and different talents. And that's what we need to come together as a collective and be like, it's okay. But we want to help share it and we want to help you. And that's what I really want to see us women start doing, is becoming the village. You said it takes a village. It does. And becoming that village instead of ripping somebody else apart because they didn't know something or they didn't look like they had it all together, is lifting them up instead of tearing them down.
Yeah. I mean, when people reach out to me for something, I am happy to help. If I know something, I am happy to share it.
I get people all the time who don't want to bother me, but they would like to know things about a nonprofit. I am more than happy if I can help somebody else create something or make it a little bit easier because I did all the hard work, by all means, because I can say in doing this podcast, I have picked people's brains. I know people who have become before me and they've done some things and said, don't do that, or you should do this. I'm going to listen to them because I don't know what I'm doing. And so it becomes that much easier for me if I don't have to go through the same mistakes as somebody else did.
Take what you know and pass it forward.
So I'm going to ask you an off the cuff question here because we're still on line number 1, which is probably a whole episode right now, just so you know. But what baby step throughout your life, what little tiny step do you think changed for you? Maybe the biggest change, but to you, it was probably just a tiny step.
There were hundreds and thousands of tiny steps along the way. Believing that I could. I was a pharmacist, happy in what I was doing, but one day, it wasn't enough. And so it was that first tiny step of taking a class, then signing up for a year-long program in natural health. And then it was, okay, I'm done with that. Now I'm going to take a coaching class. I mean, it was so many little steps. So, it's been probably, 1,000 miles instead of a step to be where I am. But it was so interesting and fulfilling that I kept taking steps. And I didn't know the steps beforehand. I mean, we've talked about being in the doorway before or in the hallway and you're standing there like.
Well, and I think that's so important. And I think at the time, so you taking a class, at the time, it was you taking a class. I don't think we think of them as steps like that, but it truly is an action and it truly is a step, because that one little thing that you did, signing up for a class, may not seem like a big deal, but when you look back now, that was a big deal.
It was a big deal. And I was also guided by spirit to say, you should, this might be really interesting for you. You just find it and then you go, and then you meet someone who is a teacher. This is true. Someone who is a teacher there that somebody knew. And I was able to ask her some questions, and somebody else at a group said, I think you'd be really good, studying with herbs. And I'm like, no, but that was involved in the class. So, I mean, I was directed of where I needed to start. And then I keep being directed. So I keep taking those steps. So, it's learning to trust yourself. There's been some classes that I've taken that I'm like, well, okay, that was not great, but all right, I learned something.
Ta-da!
Exactly.
We know that clarity comes through movement. Baby steps matter. We know that. And we never get to rarely see the whole staircase. But did you know research actually consistently shows people who focus on one small step are more likely to build confidence and follow through than those who wait until they have the whole plan planned out. Confidence also follows actions, and it's not the other way around. And I think that's the lie that we keep telling ourselves, is that it is, we need to do this because then we need to get confident and then we can do this. And that's not how it works.
Yeah. You just got to put yourself out there and try something. And then one day you're like, can do this. I feel pretty.
We've been thinking about it backwards the whole time. We think that we need confidence before we can actually move or take the class. I need a little bit more confidence before I can take that class. But confidence is actually what moves us. And so it's totally backward thinking. I think this lie that we all tell ourselves is that. And so we have just done one lie out of 5. And so I don't want to rush through these. So I'm actually think this is awesome because this is going to be a 5-part series. I really want to sit with this one today because this is a really big one, I think, out of the 5. So as we were talking today, what kind of came to the surface about something in your life that you need to take action on or you want to take action on? And I'm going to suggest that you just think of one, not 10. Don't overload your circuit. Just think of one, write it down, and then make a plan to do something with that action. And so, Bonita, what's one thing that you would tell somebody today if they're listening to this and this was the lie that they've believed in their heads to get them moving forward on the staircase?
I would say to quit listening to your inner critic who tells you can't. And I've also heard that if you name your inner critic, it's easier to not believe it. So you could name it something that George. Okay, well, George, that's not true. I don't have to believe that anymore. It's easier to call it somebody else because then you can have a dialogue. So I would give that a shot and see how
I like that.
How that works.
Do you have an inner critic name? Personal question.
Yeah, one of those be honest questions, isn't it?
Yeah.
My inner critic would be, you can't do that. So I would just call him, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So how about you, Joni? What's yours?
I think mine is that's really hard. Like, I don't think I can do that. That's really hard. And I've never heard of naming it. So giving your inner critic a name. So I'm going to have to think on that one because I've never done that or heard that, but I will. I just need to think of a name.
It just popped into my head was for me is Cedric. I don't know anybody named Cedric, but okay, Cedric.
Well, okay, Cedric. Well, I'm going to have to think of a name because I really haven't given that much thought. I have names for other things in my life, but not that, but I will. But that's really how the whole saying for me came, you can do hard things, is because I realized I could. I really want to get an RV because I don't really know how to drive an RV. Well, I had to really tell myself that I really could do that. And I can do hard things. And every single thing that I've had to do, I can do it. I don't know how to do it at the time, but I've taken a class or I've learned something and I can do that. So I think mine is I can do hard things. So what I'm going to do is change up this a little bit, which that's what I like to do. We were going to tell you 5 lies and truths, but we only got through 1 today. And that's okay because you're going to want to tune in next to find out what the other 4 are. So today, I just want, before we leave the table today, you don't have to remember everything that Bonita and I talked about today, but we do want you to remember, and something to stay with you is one thing. The most important conversation you'll have this week is not going to be with your spouse. It's not going to be with your children. It's not going to be with your best friend. It's not even going to be this one with us, whether I want it to be, but it's not going to be. It's actually going to be the one that you have with yourself. So I really want to encourage you this week to take some time for yourself. Put your phone away, stop the scroll, go for a walk, sit on your porch, take your journal out, get a cup of coffee, turn the television off, and just ask yourself, what lie have I been believing about myself? And then just sit with that. And that's the piece that we don't do enough of. Don't rush to answer it. Don't hurry. Have a little patience and just let that sit for a little bit. Listen to what kind of comes up. Journal about it. And I really talk about journaling about it because I think you need to go back and reread things sometimes to have it reflect on you again. Dream a little bit and write that down because I think that you have a conversation with yourself. I have a feeling the woman that you're becoming is waiting on the other side of an honest conversation with you. So if today's conversation made you stop and think, we'd love to have you back at the table next week, because next week we're going to be telling about lie number 2. And that wasn't the plan, but it's the plan now, and we're going to roll with it. And I want to make sure that you subscribe because you're not going to want to miss an episode. And if a woman came to mind that as we were talking, that this seemed like something that she needs to hear also, which I'm going to say it's going to be almost all women, I am going to please ask you to share this with them. Sometimes it's that one conversation, it's that one question, or it's a new perspective that can change the direction of somebody's life. So I want to thank you all for pulling up a chair with us today. And thank you, Bonita, for joining me. And I'm sure you'll come back next week so we could talk about lie number 2.
Can't wait to see where it goes.
Well, until next time, I want you to keep asking, what if? And we'll save you a seat right here at the table. So tune in next week for lie number 2. And always remember, you got this.